Welcome back to the realm of shadow and light. It's Angel Burton here again with a new series, Witchcraft, Conspiracy, Paranormal, True Crime, and more with the amazing Sarah. And thank you so much for joining today. I'm very turned around. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, hi, my name is Sarah. I have been spiritual my entire life. When I was very young, I explored a lot of different religions and different pathways and different types of spirituality. And then throughout time, I found my way to the words of like pagan and witchcraft. And that was probably around, 12 or 13. And then from there, I started a lot more on like the left side. And then I did a lot of things with learning about witchcraft, also learning about some of the darker stuff like demons, Satanism, things like that. I was really pulling from a lot of those. And then throughout time, I went more towards like earth-based and leaning more towards the right. And now today, I focus an insane amount on balance. I show it in my physical altar. I show it in my day-to-day life. And that's really where I'm at with it. And I really enjoy sharing. My life motto has always been to gather as much information as I can and to share as much as I can. I do that on my spiritual side, and I do that on my mundane side with writing.
Absolutely love that. And of course, we met in originally Witches Owl Exchange, which you really don't make connections in there because of it being a pen pal group. But then we really started connecting once I joined Unseen. And we're now doing two series together, plus all of our other stuff. Definitely, I'm the same way. I would say I'm probably middle road, even though I call myself left-hand path because it's definitely more the way I go. But I'm definitely middle road too. Like, I can go from cursing something to saving a life. Like, I know that's a bad example, but you know what I'm saying. Like my kitchen, like my kitchen witchery is like the main part of my craft. But at the same time, if somebody's gonna mess with me and my own, I'm gonna protect them, And I do the selfless magic too. Let's see. As I was talking, I thought of something and I wanted to finish my sentence and then it went away. The Satanism. When you started going to that, what did you look into? Did you just look at the main church or
Yeah, so when I first started with that, I was, like I said, I was a lot younger. I looked at sort of like the main like satanic church and their principles that they had. And I really liked how a lot of it was very much, a lot of people don't like get this misconstrued. It was very much don't hurt other people, but protect yourself. So it's like, you're not going out and being a bully, but you're not going to let someone bully you. Yeah. And it was also a lot of like embracing the fact that this is the one life that you have and you don't need to live it to anybody else's rules, but live it to yourself. But not living to anybody else's rules doesn't mean you're crazy and you don't have any morals. So that was really what I liked about it. But I come from a very small Southern Baptist location in the Bible Belt. So me as a 12-year-old rocking my pentagram book bag with my Ram School gym bag sort of didn't really do me well in school, but I really liked the way that it was set up. And then eventually I strayed a little more away because I still didn't like the rigidness of it. And while I liked the principles, it wasn't what I felt drawn to. I had always felt drawn to the earth, to the elements. I would spend a time as like a child just sitting by the waterfall because there was one deep in the woods in our neighborhood, and I would just go sit by there. And I always felt drawn to that area and really felt drawn to the earth. So then I started looking more into, well, what are earth-based practices? And then I found my way to what the words pagan were. And I was like, hey, pagan and witchcraft, I like that a lot more. And then so from there.
Yeah, exactly. I was born Catholic, became a Mormon because I was drawn to the community service stuff. That was the main reason I was drawn to that. Mormonism is its own beast kind of thing. You actually have to have like your name removed from the scripts for them to consider you not to be a Mormon anymore. But then it's almost impossible to get your names removed either. So like I'm still technically a Mormon, even though I don't like practice at all. When I was kind of going through my self-discovery phase, I met a wonderful lady that was a Satanist, and she was very, very deep into domestic violence rescue and stuff like that. So that actually got me into doing what I do. And then like, I want to start a halfway house for that as well. And when we were talking about it, like, and this is me as a Mormon being like, I want to know more about, the Church of Satan, because she was the actual, and she sent me the attendance, and I looked at that, and I literally thought they're more Christian than Christians, because like it's like if a woman says no, that means no, you
That is,
know. Trust, like, I think it was like with medical, trust science before, like, basically anything else, and like it's yourself. And I was like, wow, they're very much help other people, like, you don't,
yeah.
not what you think of it. So I always found that really interesting. I never considered myself a Satanist. I went from being Mormon to being, I never did Wicca either. I went from being Mormon to being a house witch to down the left hand path. Like, that happened really quickly. Like, I always had my mediumship. So I've been reading tarot since I was like 12, but like the actual witchcraft stuff wasn't until much later in my life, or at least the dark stuff. I guess I've always done witchcraft, because when I got diagnosed with lupus, I actually wanted to start doing essential oils and herbal remedies and stuff like that, which unknowingly to me at first put me in a group on Facebook for wholesale stuff, and they were all witches. So, like,
Yeah.
that was, like, how I got into it. So, like, if I had an issue, she would give me spells for, like, the dog or whatever, and I was like, and then my favorite tarot deck I actually got from there, too, my spirit song. So I guess that's kind of what brought me into it, and then as
Yeah.
I fell away from the church, as my marriage ended, I started going more down my spiritual path. So now I'm very much, I would say I'm trying to find the balance between the light and the dark, because I guess because of me being such a hedge witch, you need both. You need the light and the dark to grow your plants.
I definitely get that. When I was a young child, I was
Mhm.
exposed to a lot of things. I'll leave it at that. And it was
Mhm.
kind of like that through my whole life. So I sort of always tried to like push away from that mundane and try to figure out, the bigger things was sort of where I was at. I was very young and I went to many different types of churches because I was really
Mhm.
trying to find what I wanted. And while I very much respected and enjoyed listening to what other people believe, and I always have, like, I don't have to believe what you believe, but I love listening to it.
Mhm.
And I really enjoy learning about other people's beliefs. So I did a lot of that and I was really searching for what I wanted. And I
Mhm.
suppose as a child, I was doing witchcraft, even though I didn't call it that. Because when I was having a lot of bad dreams, my granny came over, we went in the yard, we found a vine, and we made a dream catcher together. We perfectly selected all of the beads we were going to put on there.
Mhm.
We hung it above my bed and just
Mhm.
random different other things that I would do. And my favorite way to play was to go into the yard and gather a bunch of different items and say I was making potions. Of course, a lot of kids
Yeah.
do that, but
Yeah.
this is something I definitely enjoyed. And then I would climb trees and I would just sit in the tree and like hug the tree, and that would just make me feel
Mhm.
better. Whenever I got
Yeah.
upset, I would run up a tree and I would go sit in the tree. I'd find the nice biggest tree in the yard, and that was the
Mhm.
one I would connect to, and I would sit in it, and I just really enjoyed that.
Yep. Definitely. And I think that's one of those things. Like, I hate the natural witch, like you're born a witch compared to not, because I personally feel we all have some kind of something within us that connects us to earth. And that's really what most witchcraft is the connection to the earth, to the universe, to whatever. Me, it's the ocean. I can't live away from the ocean. Like, it absolutely terrifies me to live like in the middle of the US, for example. I have to be at least within driving distance to it. I've never lived more than how far I live now, which is like 10 minutes from the ocean. When I was in Kodiak, I could cook in my kitchen. I could see the ocean out my window. Like,
That's
it was right
beautiful.
there. Yeah. Oh, it was so pretty. And Kodiak is gorgeous. But yeah, so I lived on base. So it was like, here's my house. There's the street. There was a dip. There was a runway because they had to get to the airport to take the plane off, and then it was the ocean. And the beach was called Jewel Beach. So it was a beach where all the sea glass would come up on. Yeah. Yeah. So pretty.
I feel that way with water, not the
Mhm.
ocean, but with water.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, as a kid, like I said, there's a giant river, and then
Hmm.
farther into the woods, there was a waterfall. You actually can't even see it on Google Maps. I highly doubt
Hmm.
most people that live in the neighborhood even though it's there. So I
Yeah.
love that. I would go and I would climb the waterfall as much as I could because I'm not trying to get
Mhm.
hurt. And then I would
Mhm.
run barefoot through the stream, which now, as an adult kind of freaks me out because like snakes and stuff like that. But like,
Yeah,
um,
right.
there's like a big river. And as like a kid, I was always so drawn to it. I was never scared. I would jump into this
Mhm.
river that you can't see under. So now as an adult
Yeah.
freaks me out. But I would swim in it and I would play in it and I would go and sit by the rocks. I would sit by the rocks and I would journal, or I would sit and I would lay down and I'd look at the sky and I would meditate. Was always drawn to the water. And I love the ocean from a distance. And what I mean
Mhm.
by that is being
Yeah.
inside of the ocean terrifies me. Like, that is
Mhm.
not, I'm not a fish. And that's not my natural habitat. I am not winning
Mhm.
any of these fights in the ocean. And
Yeah.
also, the ocean is giant. The amount of
Mhm.
giant beings that could gobble me up if they wanted to are in the ocean. And, ooh, I'm not competing with them. That is their house. I respect that. I'll be over here.
Mhm.
Also, the ocean is a beast. Being in the middle of the ocean, say on a ship, also freaks me out. The ocean could
Mhm.
swallow me whole. She
Mhm.
is a majestic beauty that I'm not playing with. She means
Right.
business. And I'll watch from the side. I'll sit on some beautiful rocks. I'll dip my little toes. I'll look for shells right at the edge. The one time I went really far out, a manatee was very drawn to me, and I didn't know it was a
Mhm.
manatee, and it was this giant abyss under the water, and I thought it was a shark, and I thought I was gonna die.
Story like that too. A dolphin. We were in Georgia and we were at the beach and I was a kid. There was just a shark attack at the beach, right? And
Yeah.
a dolphin hit my leg. It scared the shit out of me. I don't want to say that word too loud. I
Yeah.
started screaming. And it
Yeah.
ended up being a dolphin, but I thought for sure it was like a shark attacking me. Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you the story of the manatees. So there was a sandbar, which was farther out than usual. They have like a
Uh-huh.
buoy that like shows where
Uh-huh.
like boats are supposed to be. I was like a football field past that. Like I should not have
Yeah.
been out that far. And that was the farthest I
Gotcha.
had ever went before. But there was a sandbar where people were like just standing. Okay, like it was
Uh-huh.
like knee deep out there. So
Yeah.
I had to swim past all of this. And there was this tiny little float because someone was putting
Uh-huh.
their shells on it. Like not meant for a
Yeah.
person, but just meant for their
Yeah.
shells. So I'm swimming and this giant thing hits me from under the water, like hard, and like
Yeah.
knocks me forward. And then I look down, it's a giant black cloud. I literally scream. I jump out of the water onto this tiny raft. And then the guy comes up, I assume because I'm wiggling the raft around, there's like a line. He
Uh-huh.
comes up and I was like, there's something in the water. You're going to die. I'm not getting off the raft. Like, I'm not getting off the raft. And then he like goes back under the water. I guess he was not scared. And then it was sitting there. And after like, I don't know, what felt like 10 minutes, I was like, it's probably
Uh-huh.
gone. I got back in the water. I went to swim. Not even a
Uh-huh.
second later, it comes back and it's just like kept rubbing on my leg and following me the whole way. I get really close and then people start shouting, it's a manatee. And I was still scared. I was going. I was gone.
Yeah.
I got back onto the land. But I guess he just really wanted to play and hang out. He liked my vibes, but I was so
Yeah.
scared.
And they'll grab you too. Like that's what people don't understand about manatees is they'll grab hold of you. Because I've gone during the winter, they're all in their springs, and I was gonna say now I'm scared of rivers and stuff because of how many alligators are in there.
Yeah.
Like it's I was gonna let my dog go swimming in a river once, and I looked down and all I saw was baby alligators. And I'm like, nope. But
I did.
yeah, manatees will like grab onto you. You're not supposed to legally touch a manatee in Florida, but what do you
Yeah.
do if a manatee grabs you? It'll be like,
Because you're
it's
not
not
supposed to touch
me.
them because then they'll get
Nope.
like really explory with humans. I have
Yeah.
seen them. One time we were at a bird sanctuary in Florida and the manatee came up to the beach and they were just laying there and they were huge and beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah. 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 I'd be like, but it's touching me. I didn't touch
Yeah.
it. It's touching me. Yeah, we were doing a rescue because I used to do a rescue too with one of the local aquariums, and like one of them grabbed. Now it's different when you're doing a rescue, but yeah, he grabbed my
Yeah.
leg, and I was like, "Okay, buddy, you gotta stop." But yeah, it was really cute, and they could be out of the water because of them being mammals. You
Yeah.
just have to spray them down. It was cute though.
That's when I saw them. They crawled up onto the beach, but the water was like barely touching them. Speaking of
Yeah, yeah.
oceans, though, how do you feel about sirens and siren mythology?
With how drawn I am to it, I think there is. Like, I really think there's mermaids and there's sirens and there's stuff like that. I 100% believe that Atlantis was a thing and now it's under the water and it still has inhabitants. Oh, that's so pretty. I love it.
Sirens. I've always been drawn to them. I just love it. Not gonna
Mhm.
lie. I really love it.
Yeah, I definitely, and with how many like unexplained, like way back in the day, how many unexplained shipwrecks there were, or like ships being in places that they're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's a wreck in one of the springs around here where it's a old, like the wood bones are still there. I think they got pulled up in there because we're supposed to have the Fountain of Youth somewhere in Florida too. So I think they got combobulated, got a siren sound and went up this river and ended up in this spring. Like there's no reason this huge boat even being on the river. I mean, the river makes a little bit more sense, but where this boat sunk, it's like you turn off the river into the spring.
Yeah.
I can't see what they were thinking back then trying to do that, and they sunk back there. So I don't know if they were trying to come to land, but I don't think you get your boat that close to it. Like it's a huge ship. It's a huge Spanish, wooden
Yeah.
ship. So I think you would know to stay in the middle of the river.
Also, I look at how many siren or mermaid sightings were there back in the day. Okay, obviously you can
Yeah.
remove, let's say, half because of just
Yeah.
people making things up. But
Yeah.
then if you look at it, people try to say maybe they got confused and it was a manatee or something. But if
Mhm.
you're describing this beautiful female that is like alluring you to the water, how do you
Mhm.
get that confused with a manatee? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a big difference.
And there's a lot of stories from different parts of the world during times that they couldn't communicate that they match for it to be really weird. You know what I'm
That's how
saying?
I like with a lot of stuff. Yeah, because there was no phones, we weren't calling each other.
Yeah.
So it's like if me over here and then you across the planet are saying the
Mhm.
same thing, like there has to
Mhm.
be some underlying reason that everybody's saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I feel about like even horror movies and stuff like that. Yes, the horror movie is, fake and fiction, but there has to be something that really happened to get the idea off of it, stuff like that. Besides tarot, because I don't think my tarot cards are ever going to try to kill me.
It's literally about to bring up that move.
Yeah, because Crystal and I were talking about it too, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I love the movie, but I don't foresee my tarot cards trying to kill me.
Yeah.
First off, I'm not playing for cursed deck. Like as soon as you grab those, I'm like, oh god, I know this is a horror movie, but sister, put them back. They're in a box. Leave them be.
Yeah, or the movies where people see like divot boxes or whatever. Like if
Mhm.
you find some old witchy looking item coated in wax in a box, hiding in the attic, buried underground in the
Yeah,
basement, why are you opening it? Why are you
yeah.
playing with it? Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah, leave it al and then people actually do that too, like, I don't know how many times I'm on Facebook and somebody's like, "I found this," and the first thing people say is, "Do not open it," and
Yeah,
the
put
person's
it
like, "I
down.
opened
Put it back.
it," and I'm like, "Don't open it. You don't know what's happening, like, you don't know what it is or whatever." I'm
Yeah,
like, "Nope,
like put
don't
it back.
open it." Yeah, don't
You
mess with it. If
mentioned
I
your first divination was tarot.
Yeah.
My first divination that I did, second
Mhm,
was tarot, but my first one I
mhm.
actually did was Ouija board.
Mm.
But the
By
second I did
yourself?
was yeah, I did it by myself. Obviously
So
not recommended, but yeah, I
no.
still do it by myself.
Me too. And we're actually teaching about this too as a
Yeah.
live. I think if you protect yourself, I do not think Zozo is a thing.
No, I don't
I've
think that's
never
real.
I've never come across a spirit like that. I remember when I bought the Ouija board that I have now, it's literally just like the old game. So it's as close to authentic as you can get, right? And I bought it and that's right when that movie came out. My kid
Yeah.
was like, I'm never messing with that. Did you see the movie? And I'm like, it's not the same. Like my
It's a
kid's scared
movie.
because of the movie. He is like, nope, I'm not messing with that. But I think if you're doing your protection and your wardings, I think things can go bad. I think you can get attachments. It's just like anything with the darker magic. you can think you're contacting one of the, and I always say big name demons because they are so popular that they do bring the tricksters and the parasites and stuff like that. So I think if you start thinking it's weird, say goodbye, make sure you close it. I think one of the people's biggest mistakes are they get so scared, they don't close it. And that's
Yeah.
when you start getting that issues, is not closing it.
People get all scared and they run away and they never
Yeah.
close the thing. They never say
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah. 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 If it starts trying to scare you, it could be a spirit that just doesn't want, like, it could be a human. I would be the ghost messing with the kids on the Ouija board. Like, you know what I'm saying? They'll be like trying to talk to me and I'll start knocking. Like, that is what I would be. I would be the one harassing the kids.
Or
But
people go to like haunted locations. Well, let's use like examples. People go to like, let's say an old prison or something and go to play the Ouija board. Okay, well, if these people were evil in life, what makes you think they're going to be any different in the afterlife?
Yeah.
Because they might try to make you think you're contacting like a demon or something or something that's really going to scare you or whatever. But it could just be someone who is just a butthole in life that is now just the exact same way afterwards.
Yeah. And that actually leads to hauntings. I believe most of your evil hauntings are bad human spirits. Like, give whatever you believe, they weren't allowed to cross over, they weren't able to reincarnate, whatever. They were so bad in this lifetime that they're spending X amount of years as a ghost. Because, and that's why I think more so than a demon haunting, because I evoke demons, I work with demons, and my house is not haunted by demons. My house is haunted by my grandpa, but that's because my grandma's still alive, so he won't leave until she crosses as well, you know? So he's been here for 25 years plus, just hanging out because of my whole family. He's actually my kid's guardian. I was 13, turning 14. Like, I turned 14 the month later, or like the week later. So he died end of September. I turned 14 first week in October. And so my kid's never seen him. And at 3 years old, my child was like, I see this man wearing a red flannel and all that. And at that young, he's not going to be able to see the one picture that we have out of my grandpa. So he's not going to lie. And he was at his grandfather's house and he saw my grandpa there. Like, described him to a T. And then I remember when I brought him home, my son, when he was little, like when he could finally start cracking, like I smelled cigarette smoke the day I brought him home. And then when he could start tracking, I would always see him track and then I would smell cigarette smoke. Because my grandpa, when he comes, before I see him or sense him, I smell cigarette smoke first because he smoked like a chimney. So that's like how I remember my grandfather, is by that. And because he raised me, I'm really close to him. And I actually am in the bedroom that he passed away in now that I'm home taking care of my grandma and my mom. So I'm still very connected to him with that. But yeah, I would smell the smoke and then I would see him. And then when my son says that, I'm like, he's your guardian. And like, I almost want to say my kid's a reincarnation of him because my kid's an atheist. My kid is obsessed with World War II. He's obsessed with airplanes. Like, everything that my grandpa did, my son's like that. And there's enough gap that he could be. I don't think so. I just think he's so influenced by his guardian that he did that. But there was a couple of times when he was growing up that I was like, could he really be a reincarnation of my grandfather? Because it's so much of the same, you know?
I can definitely see if he's guiding him being like an influence.
Yep.
In the house that I live in, great aunt and my great uncle both passed away in this house. And something that I did not actually know until after I was living here, one day I went to my granny, who was the one who was taking care of my aunt before she passed. I was like, it's my craft room now. But I went to her and I was like, I always get such a weird feeling in this one corner of the craft room. I was like, this corner really weirds me out. And I've had my dog stop before and growl into that corner. I've also just randomly, my craft room door will open. There's nothing wrong with my door. Like, I can push on it and it's not going to open. The cats can't open it, but it's fully latched. Like, trust me, the first time I came home and that door was open, I tried everything I could to get that door to open. I actually checked my whole house because I was worried someone broke in. I don't know
Oh,
why
yeah.
they would have went in my craft room, but I was still worried.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
checked
right.
the whole house. And so I was telling my granny about I have a weird feeling about it. My cats will stare into this corner. My dog will growl into this corner. Like, I don't like this corner. And I had no clue. And my
Mhm.
granny told me that in the later days of my aunt being alive, she would
Mhm.
constantly sit up and ask what is in the corner and get
Oh.
really stressed out about this corner. And
Ooh.
then apparently right before she passed, she
Mhm.
did that. She freaked out about the corner and then she passed a little bit after that. And I had no clue. So I don't know what is up with that corner, but nobody liked it.
Do you know the history of the house?
And there was one owner, I'm pretty sure, before they owned it, but I couldn't find
Mhm.
a lot about it. I did go on like a Googling rampage about my house. I could probably go to like the I don't know what they're called. The county office building where they keep like records and stuff like that of
Yeah. Yeah.
properties. I could probably go there and do some research because it
Mhm.
makes me kind of think what was going on this chunk of land
Yeah.
before this house was here is what it
Yeah.
makes me wonder.
Like, is there a mine under, like, you know what I'm saying? Is like, is it a
Yeah.
battleground? Is it a mine? I think so. Have you ever heard of how people in the Tampa Bay area believe that we're protected by Native American magic?
No, I haven't heard that about that area
Okay.
specifically.
So if you ever notice, even though we did get hit by this last two hurricanes, it's never as bad as what it looks like it's gonna be. Like
Yeah.
there's still loss of life. There was a lot of damage this last time because we got pounded. We got hit by one and got hit by the other. But
Yeah.
there's never been a direct hit. Okay. We were supposed to with Milton. It was Milton, I think. He was coming in hot, category 5 direct hit on Tampa, right? He cut down so much before he hit here that he did minimum damage. Like, he destroyed the baseball field, he flooded it a lot. Because I remember when that hurricane was coming, I was so stressed out for the people around me that got hit so bad in the flooding from the other hurricane. I was like, their house is going to burn down or blow down because they're already taking the walls out from the water damage. It's going to, So they believe that it's because of the Native Americans. There's a mound about 20 minutes away from me. They're now digging up, and I think the reason why we had some damage and stuff like that is they're digging up over by me, which is like 10 minutes away, and they're finding out artifacts. And they decided since they didn't find remains, they're going to keep building there. So I think that's why anything happened. But up until this last year, we had not had a direct hit for 120 years. And they think it's because of that protection from the tribes.
That's something that really bothers me is when I
Mhm.
really hate it when they start going and like messing with
Yeah.
artifacts and history and like
Yeah.
searching for things. Like
Yeah.
them looking for Cleopatra's remains makes me so mad. Like
Mhm.
I hate that stuff. Like
Yeah.
especially like it's like she always said like she never wanted a man to find her and like
Yeah.
I don't like that stuff. That stuff really
No.
irritates me. I'm like,
And
please just leave it alone. Why are we tearing
yeah.
up the earth? Leave it alone.
I found out that in the UK, they dig up the old kings and queens and stuff like that. Like, I feel like once you're in the ground, you're in the ground. Like, I get, like, they were renovating where Anne Boleyn was buried, so, like, you end up disturbing them all, and that's how they found out that they can't find Catherine Howard at all. Like, there's no remains of her there, even though there's a marker there, so they think somebody took quicklime, just threw it on her body, so this child no longer exists, because she was a child. But there were the two princes in the tower. Queen Elizabeth actually told them they could not test the remains that they found anymore to let the bodies rest because they were trying to figure out these were the two missing princes. And I'm like, that bugs me. And then like I was hearing about how Catherine Parr, they literally like one time people got into her grave and they found her body somewhere completely else. And I'm like, let them rest. Like that bugs me. Or going into like the curses of the temple or the pyramids. I'm all for that because why are you going in there?
Yeah.
It's a cemetery. Good they cursed him. Good people are like getting the effects of it because you shouldn't be in there. You can respectfully go in there, of course, if they allow you, but you have to ask the spirits that are there, I feel like. you
Yeah, and
know?
also going in with respect, not going into
Yeah.
I'm gonna dig it all up and make a bunch of money because I found something. Or like
And
in
I'm gonna
these
take a bunch of
heavily
stuff.
populated areas, they're literally removing old cemeteries to build
Mhm.
apartment complexes and things
Mhm.
like that. Like I don't like that. I don't like tearing
Mhm.
up cemeteries or anything
Yeah.
like that.
No.
I'm one of those people, like, I'm not even gonna walk off the pathway. Like, we're not tearing it up. We're gonna be respectful. Like, I'm not gonna go into a cemetery and say mean things. Like, no, I'm
Mhm.
gonna be very respectful. And
Mhm.
something that I personally do, I've done this literally since I was a kid. If I
Mhm.
go to a cemetery or a graveyard or anything like that,
Mhm.
I will walk the entire graveyard and find the
Mhm.
oldest person there, and I will pay my respects to the oldest person there. Because I
Mhm.
feel like that is like, of course, that's everyone's space, but I always feel like I need to pay respects to whoever was there first.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super mindful of where the coffins are. Like, I try to like, all right, here's the headstone. Most coffin, I give like 6 feet, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like 6 feet from here because I'm like terrified of walking across. Not that I think
Yeah.
anything's gonna happen to me, but walking across the resting spot, unless I'm going to put flowers down because I personally know them. And a lot of
Yeah.
the cemeteries around me don't have paths between.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, which way is it facing? You know,
Yeah. There are
where's
some
the
that don't
end of
have
it?
any.
Yeah, so you have like no clue which way it is because the way it's spaced, a coffin could be on either side. So I don't know, and they're marked on both sides. So I'm like, well, that doesn't help. I don't know where the coffin is. I spent a lot of time in the local cemetery because when I was little, a gentleman that meant a lot to me passed away, and I went to his funeral, but I did not go to when they put him in the ground. So
Yeah.
I have no clue where he's at, and the cemetery is huge, and I have yet to find him because I refuse to go look at the directory to try to find him. Like, I'm trying to go by the description that they said, but I still haven't found him yet. And then I go to the cemetery and I see all these like neglected because probably all their family passed away or whatever. I like want to go and give like all of them flowers. All the ones that don't have flowers, I'm gonna go give them
Yeah.
flowers, you know?
When I was a young kid, middle school,
Hmm.
I was always drawn to this cemetery that was by my middle school. And then once I got
Hmm.
a vehicle, I would drive to that cemetery. I did not know anybody who was in the cemetery. It was a very old
Hmm.
cemetery. Like
Hmm.
I said, I live in a southern, like, Bible Belt state. It was a cemetery where it was a plantation owner family and a massive amount of slave graves. So
Okay.
I would go and I would sit by the slave graves and I would pay my
Hmm.
respect and I would just talk and I would just be
Hmm.
there because a lot of
Hmm.
them did not have names. They were just rocks that would
Hmm.
symbolize. And I
Yeah.
just knew nobody was going. The hedges were overgrown. I would go and I would clean up a little. I would always
Hmm.
take out any trash and I would just sit
Hmm.
and I would just pay them some attention because I felt like they were neglected in life and I felt like they were neglected after life. And so I would always go and sit there. But then to the note of not having any markers in the cemetery near my house where my great aunt is, there are no markers. So I am constantly saying, I'm sorry. Not like markers. There's no path.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly
Yeah.
saying, I'm sorry when I'm like walking
Yeah.
by because I don't know exactly how they're laid out. So I
Yeah.
feel like I'm apologizing every 3 seconds because I don't want to be stepping on
Yeah.
anybody. So I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, as I'm like walking by trying to make my way to where she is.
Which makes me feel so good because I thought I was like weird or crazy for being like, I don't want to step where they're buried because I don't want somebody walking on me, you know?
Yeah. I'm literally like, I'm so sorry, like walking.
Yeah. Here's something really, really interesting. I've been to Salem twice. I haven't been since I turned 18, but we were walking around the cemetery, right?
Yeah.
And most of the women, besides the ones that were like famous that got, you know, killed in the witch trials, they
Yeah.
did not have names. It would say wife of so and so, daughter of so and so. It was like there was no, I
Yeah.
was like, wow. And then whenever I find a child's grave, it always like hits me right in the soul, you know? I'm like, oh.
I really, really, really hate that a lot of women do not have their names on the grave and it is just their husband or their father. I
Hmm.
understand the way the history was, but it
Hmm.
still makes me sad. I'm like, she was a person. She was a more
Hmm.
than a wife. She was more than a daughter. She was a
Yeah.
person. And so it's very distressing sometimes when there
Mm-hmm.
is no, who is she? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So then I'm like, all right, well, now I want to do history on the husband to find out who the wife was. And I was like, it's hard because obviously, like Rebecca, I want to say Rebecca Church, but like stuff like that, Rebecca Nurse, they all have their names. If they don't have their actual cemetery because they were shamefully buried, they have a little area where it's a memorial. And I actually went there, and being a medium, I felt somebody getting pressed to death by stones. It took me almost 2 hours to be able, and this is when I was 18. When I went when I was 13, it didn't bug me yet. It took me almost 2 hours to be okay there. And I'm the one that wanted to go to Salem, but I got hit so hard with all that like trauma that I had to we were walking around the cemetery. I'm like, I gotta take it slow. And I even said to my ex-husband, who is very skeptical about this stuff, I'm like, I can't breathe. I have to kind of take a moment to get used to all that energy. And then
Yeah.
you will see stuff and you will witness stuff. In St. Augustine, two girls drowned at the White House at the lighthouse, and I experienced the salt up my nose and in my mouth. So I'm just like, sometimes people are like, oh, it's so cool you're a medium. I'm like, until you come across something tragic and this spirit needs help and they want to show you how they died, then it's not so much fun anymore.
Definitely, definitely give props to mediums. I am not a
Mhm.
medium by
Mhm.
any means, but I give such props to people that are. Myself, I'm very in tune with other
Mhm.
people and my surroundings. Um,
Mhm.
my brain just hit like the biggest moment of brain fog because I'll just say it. One of the clair senses, and I just forgot which
Mhm.
one because I'm trying to
Okay.
think of it. But the one where you
Mhm.
just know things.
Yeah, your intuition. Yeah.
Yeah. So my intuition is extremely strong and I'm very empathic with others around me.
Mhm.
I pick up on how people feel a lot. Even if someone's very good at covering up how they feel, I feel like I can connect. And then I just happen, like, my intuition is very strong where I just know a lot of things. And people will be
Mhm.
like, how do you know that? And I'm like, I have no clue. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just got a feeling. And it's like that with specific things. Pregnancy is one, which I obviously
Mhm.
never tell anybody. That's something I always keep to myself. But like, I will just like look at someone and be like, "Oh my god, they're pregnant." Like they don't.
Mhm.
It's happened before where people don't know, and then they come to me like a
Yeah.
couple days later, and they're like, "Hey, I'm pregnant," and I'm like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" Like, but just a
You're
lot
like,
of
I knew, but yeah.
yeah. I'll have it where I'll have like my partner, he'll tell me like someone in it, he'll bring up someone in his life. He's like, "Hey, so and so," and I'm like, "Yeah, she's pregnant." Before he even says it, I just know, I just have a feeling. And then this happens with a lot when I do divination is I'll have like of course the cards, but then I will hear extreme things in my mind and I'm like,
Mhm.
I have to say it. Like it's like my whole being has this message. It's
Mhm.
like shouting to me. And sometimes
Mhm.
my whole message I'm getting kind of contradicts the cards a little bit. So I just go, I'll still tell people I'm doing the reading for, this is what the cards mean, but this is what is screaming inside of me that I like feel like I have to share with you.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I hate this. So I also have the Oracle, which was given to me by Apollo because of how dedicated I am to Artemis, right? So when I do cards, I'm just using the cards to back up what I'm seeing. I'm seeing what's happening. And sometimes it's hard and I'm like, how do I tell them that what they're seeing? Like, there's a gentleman that his wife left him, and trying to tell him for 2 years that she wasn't coming back was like the hardest thing because I kept pulling the cards and it kept being the same. And I'm like, not only is it gonna, she's not gonna come back, it's gonna be traumatic, you know? And
Yeah.
then it's like, how do I tell you this, that I'm seeing this? And I'll see everything. And then it always freaks me out when I'm right. Like, I had the same thing with the pregnancy, too. One of my girlfriends, she's also a witch, and she was talking to me, and I'm like, so, with her, I could be like, oh, you're pregnant, you know?
Yeah.
And she was telling me something, and I'm like, have you missed your period yet? And she's like, no. I'm like, I think you're pregnant. And then she's like, okay. So, like, she waited and she did an early pregnancy test when it got closer to that, and she came back to me. She's like, "I'm pregnant." I'm like, "Yeah, I could, like, just sense it." I was like, it must have been right when it happened." But
Yeah.
yeah, she's like, "Yeah, you were right. I'm pregnant." So now she'd be like, "Am I pregnant?" And I'd be like, "No." And I'd like, "Yeah." And then she's like, "Okay."
With pregnancy and with the just
Mhm,
knowing things, it's
mhm,
not always fun. Like you
mm-mm,
mentioned, sometimes knowing things about other people, but then also I'll say with myself, there have been times where I've been like sitting and, or someone that's close to me will ask me a question, but like involves the both of us. And I
mhm,
see this horrible ending to like a
mhm,
relationship or a friendship or something, or I see me getting like backstabbed or some really like traumatic stuff happening. And then
mhm,
I'll do like a card reading because I'm like, there's no way. And then the card reading
mhm.
will say the same thing. And I'm like, I don't want to be right. Like, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And then I'll try to like gaslight myself into thinking it's not
Mhm.
going to happen. And then it all happens the exact way I said it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's really hard to like accept sometimes. I've had it before where my boyfriend is like, you've got to stop saying things that you think are going to happen because I think you're making them happen. I'm
Yep.
like, no, I'm not
Yep.
making them happen. I just know they're going to happen.
That
I was like,
happened.
even if I don't say it, it's still going to happen. But then I can't be like, oh my gosh, I knew that was going to happen. That's why I want to share it so that way we can both be awestruck that how the heck did I know that?
Mhm.
So
I
yeah.
also feel like some of this stuff, like, if you speak it, it won't happen. Like, I've been having these awful dreams of a family member getting decapitated in a car accident. It's like, it hasn't happened yet, knock on wood, but it's
Yeah.
been, like, all different ways. One time was they hit a semi truck. The other time was in my driveway, which I can't figure out how hitting the gas with my garage door not being up all the way would decapitate you, because I've hit garage doors and they just, like, cave in.
Yeah, I
I don't
accidentally
think
hit a
that
door once.
yeah,
But
so I
like I
don't
was
think
going
that's
like 2 miles per hour at least.
yeah, yeah.
That was a funny
I've
one.
I accidentally hit the gas and had to drive instead of in reverse and went right into the garage door.
That's
Yep.
exactly what I did. And thankfully, my garage door was already broken a little bit. But yeah, I was sitting in the driveway and I like barely hit it. And so the inside just moved in. I was like, oh my gosh. I need to take a
Yeah.
second.
It's like, "Oh my god, what happened?" Yeah, but this is like so I'm like, maybe if I speak it, it won't happen, but, like, I keep so, like, if it happens, I'm not gonna be surprised, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of dreams, I
Mm,
have very strong dreams. And the thing that's
mm,
so bizarre is I have about like, I'd say like six top
mhm,
dreams and
mhm,
they're not good. They're very like
mhm,
nightmare, like, and
mhm.
I would say more night terror because I'm
Yeah.
living them. It's like I'm lucid dreaming in the nightmare. I know I'm dreaming. I can't escape the dream, but I still
Mhm,
have to live within the dream rules and
mhm.
they're very set dreams and only like little bits change and I always like work through the same things. So
I wonder if that's a vision, because I have this theory with my dreams, and I hate it, like, when you know you're dreaming and it's a nightmare and you
yeah.
can't get out of it, but my theory is once I have the same dream, like, 3 or 4 times, then I think it's more of a vision. I'm just having it at night as opposed to being awake, you know?
Yeah.
And before I learned how to control having visions, I've had some really dangerous visions. And what I mean by that is they would hit when I'm driving. So I was driving to college, and to get to the college that I went to, you literally have to go down the interstate. And I must have had a vision when that happened because I got to the college and I didn't know how I got there. The other time is I had one that completely took my vision out, and I came to my body slamming on the brakes. Like, that was terrifying
Yeah, I
to
can
at least my
imagine.
body was aware, but still, like, I was, like, slamming on the brakes because somebody had pulled out to me, and I was so dazed, like, I was like, "What happened?" I was like, it was more than just, like, a daydream. It was like I had no physical sight anymore because I was seeing whatever was gonna happen.
Yeah. What are you most excited about with our upcoming different series that we have going on?
Well, as you know, I'm working on Wheel of the Year, so I'm really excited with that
Yeah.
because we've had like with the we did the grimoire just recently. The research on it is a lot more fun than I realized, you know.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know, and I'm like all over because I'm trying to think. So I'm definitely looking up to our Wheel of the Year, but then I'm also really excited for our Ouija. out of our like
Oh yeah.
divination series. I'm really excited for the Ouija. Are you doing spirit animals too with us, or
No, I'm not.
okay? Hmm. Yeah,
So I feel
yeah,
like I would overwhelm myself if I picked up more. So also, I don't know if
yeah.
we specified for listeners, the series that we're sharing are Books of the Craft, The
Hmm.
Wheel of the Year, and then we're doing a couple divination lives.
Yeah. And this is all in the Unseen Witches Society. So if you're a lady, join Witches Owl Exchange, and then after so much of time, you can come in and learn with us.
But yeah.
I can't believe how much I love doing the pen pal stuff. And like I found, and I talked about this with Crystal, like I had a dream about you guys too. Like the Chrome part for Unseen. I had a dream that I was in like a group chat and we were teaching, magic. But I found the Witches Owl Exchange right at my lowest point. 2023, 2024 was hard. I had a partner that basically put me through it, you know? So, like, I found that, so that really helped. And then, like, when Crystal was like, I need a letter mod, I'm like, I want to do it. And then she's like, I'm looking for crones. I'm like, I want to do it. And then I got into the car accident because I was stressing because I had just become the crone, And then I had my first day interview with my podcast, and like work would not give up. Like we had inventory and they were going into the season. And I'm like, how am I going to do what I really, really want to do? Did I take on too much? Am I going to push off my dreams again because of work? And then I got into the car accident and my car was fine. I think I showed you the pictures of my car. Like there was nothing, we were having that conversation about
Yeah.
cars. And my car was fine, but my body was broken. And it was just enough to give me the out to quit. And then it opened up. So now that I'm doing the podcast and I'm doing all that stuff, and I'm really happy doing that stuff.
Yeah. I found Witches Owl Exchange at a point where I was going through an extremely rough time. I would say
Hmm.
2021 to 2023 or 4. My years are mush. But definitely starting 2021 and then moving to the 23 or 24 area was really
Hmm.
difficult. I'm still trying to go through like the building myself up again process. But
Hmm.
during that time frame, I was really getting like beat down. So
Hmm.
then when I found, which is Alex Exchange, was when I
Hmm.
was trying to find like a way to like let it. And I had a different pen pal
Yeah.
group. I didn't like it. It wasn't managed properly. It was done
Hmm.
poorly. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to find, and I was searching for people to write witchy letters to.
Hmm.
And so I was just looking up witchy pen pal groups because I was like, maybe I need to stop trying in a regular pen pal group to find witchy people instead of just getting
Hmm.
the judgment that I was getting. The
Yes.
comment
Yep.
sections were crazy. People were coming for my throat. And I was like, if
Hmm.
you don't want to be my pen pal, don't respond to the post.
Yep.
But
Yep.
so I was looking up witchy pen pal groups, and then I found Witches Alex Stage, and then I saw the amount of rules that there were and the amount of videos that they were, and I was like, hallelujah!
Hmm.
I was like, as soon as I saw all of those rules, I was like, they're gonna make sure that you get a pen. They're gonna make sure that you're not getting scammed. They're gonna make sure you're
Yeah.
not getting bullied. And I was like, thank the Lord. And I
Yeah.
joined the group, and it was awesome. And I started meeting people, and I really loved it. I moved to
Hmm.
Unseen, and then they put out a request for crowns, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready. I was like, I really, really, really want to. I was like, I've always wanted and always like dreamed and thought about being in a group of girls
Hmm.
and teaching. And I was like, I think this is it. And then I was like really unsure. And then I got a letter in the mail from
Hmm.
one of the ladies in which is Alex Change, and it had an oracle card in it, and it was the Crone oracle card. It literally says Crone, and it has it written on there. And it was the day I was thinking about it that I got the card. And I was like, I have to do it.
That's
I
a
was like,
sign.
I'm
Yep.
doing it. So I have the Crone Oracle card on my altar. It will forever be there.
I love
And
that.
I was like, no, I'm doing it. And so I started December of,
Hmm.
I think 2023. I could be
Hmm.
wrong, but I'm pretty sure December of 2023. And my first ever was the Witches' Balls. And I think the lives that I enjoy doing the most are probably my visualization meditation.
Yes, definitely. I love your world building ones too.
Yeah,
Those are
those are
like
the
my
those
absolute
that's the one I'm
favorites.
talking about. The
Yeah,
world
yeah.
building
That's
series.
yeah, I know. I love that. I don't even remember what my first live was now. And it wasn't that long ago. Like I feel like I've been there forever. Because I've only been a crone since September. I want to say October.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say October was my first, maybe. Cause or no, maybe November. Maybe I'm that new to it. Because my first live letter for the owl was October for November. So and that was my first live. So I wonder if maybe I started in October. I'll have to look now.
Know a lot of the lives just because I type that
Uh-huh.
document where I write down
Oh,
all of our lives. So
uh-huh.
the document takes a lot of work. So when I'm typing down everybody, I start remembering when people did what lives, which is really
Yeah.
helpful when I'm doing a live. I can quick reference somebody else's live because I'm typing up the table of content.
What was my first? Now I'm looking. I'm like, so what was my
You're like,
first
I gotta
live?
know. That world building series, it started because I was like searching for a video on world
Mhm,
building because I wanted to sit and I wanted to do someone else's meditation because I
mhm,
really enjoy listening to them, but then I literally
mhm,
couldn't find what I was looking for. I was like scouring the internet, scouring YouTube, trying to find a video that like fit the vibe I was going for. I was like, I can't find it. It was making me really irritated. And then
mhm,
I did a live just going over tips and little exercises you can do to get better at visualizing so you can do visualization meditations. And a
mhm.
lot of people were like, you should post one. You should post one. And I was like, you know what? I can't find the ones that I want. So I was like, I'll just make my own. So what I do is I sit down, I think about the things that I want to sort of be like the outline, the map of the world, and then I like
Mhm,
sort of write down where I want to go. And then I get myself into a meditative state and I go through the
mhm,
world building and I work my way through it. And then I get out of my meditation and I write
mhm,
down what we're doing. And then when it's
mhm.
fully wrote down, I do the meditation again because I have
Yeah,
to make sure that you can follow it very good. So
yeah,
it's kind of a long process to make them, but I love them. The only
yeah.
downside I have about them is I don't like listening to my own voice, so I don't want to play back the videos to do the meditation. So, but then I still can't find a video that matches the meditation that I want. So I'm like, inconvenient.
I know, isn't that the worst? Like we're doing this and we hate listening to ourselves. Like I absolutely hate. I hate editing. Like I hate editing the podcast because I'm fine talking, but I don't
Yeah.
like having to listen to myself because then I'm like, ew, my voice sounds awful. I'm like, delete, delete. I'm like, oh, I can't because there goes the whole podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, so I looked it up. My first one was the dual protection
Oh, nice.
herb stuff. Yeah, yeah. So November. So I became a crone in October, and then November I did my first live.
When I
Which I
first
feel
joined Unseen, my favorite thing was how open they were with the left path. Because
mhm,
throughout finding witchy groups, while yes, it is hard to find witchy groups, it's
mhm,
even harder to find witchy groups that one are okay with left-handed path, but two teach it for free.
yeah,
Left-handed path is usually really judged and is usually behind a crazy paywall.
yeah, yeah,
So I was so thankful to like find the group and I loved listening
mhm,
to Crystal's lives early on. And also I love all of the crones, but I really
yeah,
enjoyed the darker lives that Gina would do and Crystal
mhm,
would do. And Sarah Lee does some of them.
mhm,
So I
yeah.
really liked those.
Remember when we were talking about stuff and we were like trying to come up with our lies? Like what people don't realize is that we usually have it planned out a year in advance. At least not if we don't know what topic we're doing, we have our days claims. Like, and I was like, we were talking and I'm like, I should really like embrace that I work with demons. And I went to Crystal, I'm like, I want to do a Zazzle. And she's like, go for it. And then so I'm doing Lucifer, but not until June. And it's because like Crystal never thought the group was ready for it. And I was like, I really wasn't thinking so either. But then he told me to do June for it. So like he's coming up and actually I'm kind of surprised, like when I get the RSVs for Azazel and Nama, that of course I had to do them in the same month because it would be mean to break them up, you know?
Yeah.
how many people are like ready for it. And like I started with warning, this is demonology, and it's gonna go really deep into it because I'm so used to being in like other pen pal groups and hiding either that I'm a witch or that I'm a dark witch.
I definitely relate. This is one of the few times that I've mentioned that like my path started with Satanism, and it's because I usually get like met with a lot of criticism from that. And sometimes people will also be like, "Oh, I didn't expect that. You're so like earthy and like this and that." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I built a lot to get here." In the very beginning, I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of need to protect myself. I was not in the place where I could sit down in my front yard for 3 hours and scrying looking at the clouds. I wasn't there yet. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
It took a lot to get there. Cloud scrying is one of my favorite divinations.
I love it too. I was moving across, and this is scary. Like, it's a scary one, but it's really cool too. We were going across, coming back. So I was in a really bad place because we were like at the point of getting divorced, and my ex-husband and I were at our throats, but we still chose to drive across country for our kid, you know? And I was looking out the window and I literally saw like a battle, and I saw like dragons, and like it was crazy. And I'm like, am I seeing the end of the world? Or like more, I think it's because we were at such a clash that I was seeing that clash, because it did get really bad before it got to a good place. Like really bad. I do love cloud scary. I also like forget that like I never did Wicca. I never studied Wicca. Like
Studied it briefly, but I studied it, but I never practiced it.
yeah.
Because very quickly within my studies, I discovered the threefold law, which I don't like the threefold law. I believe in karma, not the threefold law. While yes, I do think if I put bad stuff out there, bad stuff might come back to me. I don't follow the threefold. I also, however, I'm never going to go out of my way to harm another individual, but if someone deserves it, like, you best believe I'm not about to get pushed over. I've spent plenty of time in my life being a pushover. I'm not doing that. I have the firm boundaries and don't push them, or I'm going to push you back kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I believe in being your own karma too, Like I said, I will do that selfless magic. Like I'm doing the whole 90 days with Lilith to heal. Like I'm healing a lot of trauma with her.
yeah.
I will act to protect me and my own before anything else. I spent so much time because I was taught to be in service to mankind that now I'm kind of cleaning that back. And now I'm like, no, because I've been stranded on the side of the road and nobody stopped to help me. I had to wait 4 hours, with a puppy and a kid in the heat in the middle of Florida, and nobody stopped to help me. So why am I stopping to help somebody,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So now I'm just like, I'm going to look out for me and my own first. I love doing healing, so I will still do the healing and stuff like that. But even then, I'm more animal based. I can heal a dog so much better than I can heal a human,
Yeah, I always felt growing up, I didn't like being a healer as much as I do now, because I would have people come into my life, very hurt, very needing of someone. I would stitch them up, and then as soon as they were fixed up, their wings would sprout and they would grow away, like fly away. And I hated that growing up because I always felt like I was fixing people for them to just leave me. And then when I got older, I realized I was just there to help them put their big boy pants back on or their big girl pants back on, to heal up their wounds, to give them a kiss, to give them a doggy bag of food and send them on their way.
Yeah.
And that became a lot easier for me as an adult than when I was younger. And also now as an adult, I know when I have the energy to heal and when I don't. And as a kid, I could not, kid and teenager, I couldn't turn off because when people were feeling bad, I would feel that. I would feel all of the stuff they were going through, and it would be so immense that when I would look at them, I would just see their inner child. I would see their innocence. I would see all the things that they went through. So I felt like such a bad person for not healing them. But then I would just be pouring and pouring and pouring. And as everyone probably knows, you can't pour from an empty cup. So then shadow work became a huge part of my practice, because with being a healer, you have to do shadow work because you have to be able to work through your stuff.
Yep.
Or be good enough if you're a healer, not do shadow work, be a good enough person, like good enough to not let it like affect you, you know what I mean? Because I know Crystal doesn't really do
Yep.
shadow work, but she doesn't let it like stop her. She continues
Yeah.
like power.
Did you hear that? She's like, well, you explain shadow work. And I'm like, and I'm bad at doing it too. I'm so pro doing shadow work. I'm writing a shadow work book, but like for me to do it, I do the fluffy stuff. So I think that's one of the things that I'm doing with Lilith right now is she's like, you're going to work because then she wants me to work with Belial. And I know he's going to make me go there, you know? And I'm like, I don't want to, like, but I don't want to. But I can see it affecting my relationships. Like, I can see the insecurity and the trauma from being married affecting my current relationship. And
That's sort
because
of where
sometimes,
I'm.
yeah.
I could
And I'm like,
feel, yeah, I could feel all that bad stuff like weighing
yep,
on me. And then you start reacting in ways that you realize you're not reacting to the situation at hand. You're reacting to your past trauma. And it
yep,
got to the point where I was like, you know, I have to start the healing journey. And that's why the past like year has been like, I've been so down in the dumps. It's not because I'm experiencing the things that I used to, but it's because I'm re-experiencing them in my mind because I'm
yep.
working through it. I'm doing all the shadow work. And I can
Mm-hmm.
honestly say doing the shadow work and working through it is harder than living the experience because you don't have the adrenaline. You don't have the fight for survival anymore. Now you're okay. Now you can get emotional. Now you can cry. Now you can react. You don't have to sit there
Yep.
stone faced and take all the rocks being thrown at you. You can react. So it is a
Yeah.
lot harder to relive and work through it. So it takes a long time. And also, you might think that there's, I don't know, 7 things to work through. Then you open up one thing, and there's 80 things inside that one box.
Yep.
And you have to work through all of those. And then they'll open more boxes, and you
Yep.
just fell down a giant spider web, basically.
Yep. Yep. Do you have a therapist too while you're doing it?
I don't currently have a therapist
Mm-hmm.
because I was waiting for like insurances and all of those
Mm-hmm.
things. But eventually I will
Yeah.
have a therapist. I have been in therapy before. I
Mm-hmm.
have like papers and stuff and I know like the traditional how to like work
Mm-hmm.
through things. But
Yeah.
I've started reaching out to a fellow crone in
Mm-hmm.
Unseen about a lot of things. She was very kind and she
Mm-hmm.
I reached out in the group chat and sort of let
Mm-hmm.
out a little bit of how I was feeling. Even though it was really hard to send that
Mm-hmm.
message, I knew I needed to. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the lovely ladies reached out and she's been, you know, just every couple days or every day, how are you doing? How is it? And it's been really nice to get that message because I don't really have a lot of people checking in on
Mm-hmm.
me. So it's really nice. And so not a therapist, but a friend is
Yeah.
very nice. So
Isn't she actually? That's what she does, though, because I know who you're talking about. Isn't that
yeah.
what she does?
I
Is
I know she does something in the mental health
like it?
field, but
Yeah.
I don't know her specific job title.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I know exactly who you're
I
talking
know you know who
about.
I'm talking. Oh, but yeah.
Yeah. Because actually, I'm gonna get a therapist again too, and I recommend that because you may face something that is going to make you spiral, and it's going
Yeah.
to cause
I
depression and
would,
stuff like that
with the
too.
amount of things I have in my life and I've been through, if someone else went through all the things that I did, I would never recommend them to do shadow work without a therapist. But I'm a bad
Yeah.
habit of not listening to myself, so
Hmm.
so don't do what I do. But
Yeah.
I lived it once and I know that I lived it once. And when
Hmm.
I need to stop, I know I need to stop. And now I am a little bit more mature and I know when I need to reach out with someone, how uncomfortable it might be to reach out. I still will reach out. But,
Yeah.
you know, maybe 2 years ago, I wouldn't have reached out and I would have fallen very low.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's what you don't want to do. Shadow work is supposed to, and of course I'm saying this to the audience, it's supposed to free you. You don't want to fall into a depression.
Yeah.
That's why I'm very much, if you're doing a deep work, make sure you have a therapist. Even if you don't have a therapist right away, have one when you start feeling that. If you get to the point that you have to go and do a hold. Go to the ER because,
Yeah.
it's better to get the help than to try to fight through it and it not turn out the way that it should because you have people that love you.
Yeah.
Definitely
For
we have to
on that note that you said, if you go into the
Mhm,
ER, you will be
mhm.
put on a 48-hour to
Yep.
72-hour, depending on your state.
Yeah.
hold where you won't be able to leave the facility that you're at, and then you can.
Yeah.
It just depends
Yeah.
on what you put in. But if you get to a point where you're at that point, you need to reach out to
Yeah.
somebody. You don't want to sit
Yeah.
there and suffer alone.
No.
Don't do what
No.
I do. Don't do that.
No, no, because sometimes that hold is worth it. Like if
Yeah.
you really feel like you have to go, and I think when we do our shadow work, we need to put that disclaimer too to make sure that to watch your mental health.
When we do our lives, I will also go a little bit into my personal experience, and I'll share some of those because we have a much smaller collective. So then I'll dive a little more into and be like, hey, learn from thy experiences, do not repeat.
Yeah, exactly. Do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah, and you and Crystal are saying that. That is 100% fact. Take the advice. Don't do what I'm doing.
Yeah, because we're telling you.
I wreak my own havoc when I don't listen to my advice.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you sit there and you go, like, I knew better. Like, I know better. Why am I so stubborn that I'm not listening to myself?
It's because I'm a Taurus. That's what.
I'm a Libra, so I tend to be everybody's therapist.
As a Taurus, I'm very strong-willed and very stubborn, even when I know better. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think my big three is Libra, Virgo, and Gemini. So, like, I think that explains a lot right there, you know?
I have Taurus twice, and I don't know what my other ones are. I have it written on a piece of paper. Ellen would beat me up right now if I
know.
She's really good at that. And then I have a pen pal from Witchcraft Exchange, and she knows a lot about astrology. And before Ellen started her series, I was talking to the pen pal because I want to learn more about astrology. But since I'm very earth-based, so connecting to astrology is very hard for me because it's very not earth-based. So it's a little hard for me, but she was teaching me about my big three, to breaking it down, all the houses and such. And so we and her were kind of working through that, and I really appreciate that. Speaking of pen pals, can you feel like your pen pal's energy through the paper? That's something I love about the witchy pen pals.
The ones that keep writing, and that's something that I always tell people, is that people will fall off, because I think I have 5 out of 20 that are continuously writing with me now. Is because of the energy. You're not going to vibe with everybody. I got a couple that it was just like, I'm open to everybody, but like, once I actually say what I am, they might be like, you know.
Because I have our witchy pen pals from WoW, and then I do have one other pen pal group that I do, and they're more mundane letters, but not just like, this is what's going on in my life. I do like where we do one section on mundane, and then we discuss like a topic, whether that be conspiracy theories, whether that be true crime, whether that be a writing pen pal where we share poems and we annotate it or whatever. I don't like I think I only have 2 pen pals that we write strictly what is going on in our lives. And it's because you have to be like a friend for me to want to just write what's going on in my life. Everybody else, we sort of write like we do in WoW, like 10% our life, mostly a topic. And so that's what I do with my more mundane pen pals.
What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Pretty much anything about the government being corrupt.
Okay. Totally,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Mine is actually the aliens.
And that's always
probably,
a fun.
Yeah, probably because of where I'm at. And I'm not mentioning it because I mention them every podcast. But there's a lot of just like weird stuff that's been happening lately. I've been hearing a lot of low humming over the house at night. So I'm kind of like, huh. And like, it's so selfish of us to think that we are it too, you know?
Out of everything, how can it just be us? That's sort of how I feel.
And I love true crime and then cults. Like, I will go down cult freaking YouTube channels like crazy.
I listen to so many true crime podcasts. So many. And true crime, conspiracy theories, cults, all those things, I can write a lot about them. I only write usually about my conspiracy theories because social medias like to nip those in the butt really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about
absolutely.
Them.
That's why I was like, what's your favorite? And then just left it. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's why I said that's all I'll say. Because anything else, I don't want to affect your podcast.
Yeah, we don't want that. We want people to see it.
Yes, we don't want to be ghosted by the social media.
Yeah. And true crime and cults seem to be going a lot hand in hand lately.
Oh, yeah.
I've noticed that.
People are crazy. People do a lot.
And what's sad is they take advantage of trusting people.
Oh, yeah. Because it just takes one or two ill-minded individuals and they prey on people that need help.
Yeah. 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 I jokingly said I was watching one and I was like, well, if I want $1 billion, I just need to start a cult. I never would. But I was like,
joke disclaimer.
Yeah, I never would. My morals would kick in and I would feel too bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm fact checking myself when I go to teach something, so I couldn't just like make stuff out. But I was watching one, Jonestown, how he got everybody to unalive themselves.
Oh, yeah, I know that one. That one's wild.
Yeah.
I will say with what you said on the teaching thing, I feel that I can be very confident in the topic that I'm talking about, but then I'm like, shoot, I need to double check everything that I write because I don't want to be sitting here being like, oh yeah, the grass is green, and then like I'm wrong. I don't want to be doing that.
No, it's blue. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I'm like, don't want to do that.
But then we
especially
also
for my tarot lives.
Yeah.
Right now we're prepping the live for the traditional meaning of all of the cards. And I'm like, okay, the element for this card is earth. And then I Google it on one website to double check myself. And I'm like, what if I'm wrong and they're wrong?
Yeah.
I like check like 30 websites. And I'm like, okay, it's going to take forever to plan this live because I'm double checking everything so much. But I don't want to be sitting there like preaching to the choir and I'm just wrong.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, I'm doing the 78 card videos too, so if you need to like chat and double check, we can. I don't know why I'm doing that. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. I'm like, how long is that gonna be? Like weekly, that would be 78 weeks of tarot.
It'd give you a lot of content.
It would give me a lot of content. Yeah, over a year worth.
All of them twice. We're doing 3 lives over the major arcana, 2 suits, and then 2 suits in the traditional sense. And then we're going to do 3 more lives later on the non-traditional over the major, 2 suits and 2 suits. So yeah, we're going to do like a little break in between because we usually get requests from people that are in the tarot program over lives. So once we go through all 3 of those, we'll do any requested lives and then we'll jump into the non-traditional. But that is going to be so much information.
Yeah. Yep. We should put a disclaimer that we both know about the other doing the project. So, because I remember when I was telling you about that, you're like, I'm going to hit you up because we're doing that. And I'm like, awesome. Because I guess it's going to have to be YouTube because TikTok's temperature is just so high right now that I don't know if we'll keep TikTok.
We could always do YouTube and then post the exact same thing on the TikTok so that way it's
that's what I was thinking.
It's there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think I'm doing because like
that's a hot
honestly
topic right now.
It is. I had an anxiety attack because my highest platforms are TikTok, and when it did shut down, it was like not everybody followed over because I don't think people took it serious. So not everybody followed over to the other social media, and I was like, that's my platform. I mean. And what sucks is I couldn't even give my password to somebody that's in another country because it's registered in the U.S.
Yeah.
So they couldn't log in and post my content for me.
That's when you make a backup account for your podcast in a different country.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like, I know so many people in the UK. Can you make a podcast account for me?
Yeah, a backup. And you post the exact same content over there, but like with like random other things. You make, this is my backup account, my official backup.
Yep. Yeah.
There you go.
That was really bad. Like I was like, and I knew it wasn't going to stick, but like I watched it die and then come back to life too. Because he said he
were mad.
Yeah.
Well, that was the fastest way to piss off half of the population right there was take away their favorite social media app. People were ready to riot in the street. People were.
Because so many people make money off of it.
Yep. It's become it's become one of the best advertising platforms, and it's because it is so personalized. The
Mm-hmm.
algorithm is extensively personalized and very cultivated to just you. So it's a great way to like find a lot of new sources of media is through TikTok.
And a lot of people that are TikTok famous are not in other places. And they have shops and they have all this stuff. So when it went down, that was literally their income.
TikTok has also helped a lot of smaller YouTubers
Mm-hmm.
build their audience
Yep.
extremely because someone can just watch 6 seconds of your content and be like, wow, I love the vibe, and then slide on over to YouTube for your longer form content.
Yeah, it's
I
my
will say,
biggest
I hope
draw.
your podcast brings new people to WoW and Unseen. That would be so nice. Because I know with us being on Facebook, I love our smaller group because it is much
Mm-hmm.
easier to connect. But sometimes, like, I wish we could, like, spread the word. Like, hey, look
Yeah.
what we have over here.
Yeah, I kind of want to get all of us on because I know we can't directly invite them to Unseen. They have to be in WoW first.
Yeah, it's like a nice good
And
little
then
trial run.
the Where Witches Roam too. That's another one. Like Kathy's amazing. Crystal and Kathy are absolutely amazing.
I'm so excited for the new program that Kathy's doing. I cannot wait.
Yeah. I did tell her that if she needs help with anything within there, I can help.
I told her that as well. I'm in her little support team for the Oracle program because she was mentioning how like much weight the Oracle program is having on her. So me and one other reader, we were like, hey, why don't we help you? So we have like a little
I have to do a
team.
review. Sorry, that just reminded me I have to do a review for a reading. I will do that when I get off. I almost forgot.
There you go.
I'm thinking about offering that too. Do you think they could use more help with the Oracle program?
You could totally let Kathy know, and if she wants, I'm sure she'll add you to our little support group and help. Because I also offered her help with her new program coming out if she needs help with that. Because I just know that it's a lot on her, and I love, love, love the Oracle program. So I didn't want that to get like closed.
Oh no, and she's amazing because I'm still having a nervous breakdown until I have something for the I can't talk. Wisp exchange in my house. I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown because I probably easily spent $50 on herbs now to make sure that something goes on time.
Something is here, yeah. I also really, really, really love doing like cartomancy readings with playing cards, you know what I mean? I love doing those. And the only place I really have to do them are in the random chit chat reads for tarot. Like we're doing one tomorrow, and we do tarot readings, and then I do cartomancy readings because they're easy to do, but I love doing them so much. But since they're so like quick to do, I mean, I could draw it out a little more by going into more detail, but they're still much quicker than tarot readings. So, but I love doing those. They're one of my favorites.
Yeah. That was actually when I say I learned tarot. I actually learned originally with playing cards. Yes and no, maybe. You know. So
when you do readings, what color do you have signify no? Do you do the traditional black is no, or do you do the non-traditional red is no?
I do the red is no because to me red seems so much more of a no. So my no's and maybes are red. My maybes would be hearts, and then so like a maybe no would be hearts, and then my definite no is diamonds. And then my clubs or my definite yes, and then my maybe yes are the spades. That's how I'll do it.
Because traditionally, the black is supposed to be no, because traditionally black was resonated with evil and negativity, and I don't like that. To me, black seems more neutral, and red seems negative. So I definitely do my reds or no's, yeses are black, and then I use the number on the card and the like Jack, Queen, King, Ace to determine the seriousness of our yes and our no. And then I use like a balance of suit and colors to determine maybes.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's why. And you know, I have a training deck that actually tells us what the yes and no's are in the actual traditional tarot too.
You're gonna need to send me that.
Yeah,
for
I will.
Those tarot lives, 1,000%.
I will definitely.
Because I'm doing one of the things we're doing for each card is yes, no, or maybe, and so I've been like researching each card, but I could totally compare what I found online to what your deck says, and that would be so it'll be very helpful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got that deck because it was a training deck and I didn't know it had that on there. I was
Yeah.
like, sweet. I'm like, this is gonna help me so much,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. I can send you what deck it is too. It's hiding right now in a pile because I decided I wanted to use my shoe thing as my desk today, so all my shoes are on top of it. Yeah, but I definitely love tarot, and it seems like a lot of people start with playing cards too because it's easy to hide.
Yeah, they're very easy to
Yeah.
get too. They're
Yeah.
99 cents at the dollar store, so it's not like a commitment. You could probably find 99 cents in the dollar store parking lot before you go in and buy your
Yeah.
deck of playing cards.
Yeah.
I
And usually most of your oh sorry.
No, go
Most of
ahead.
your questions are yes or no too. So.
Yeah. When I do pendulum, I like to do
Mhm,
playing cards at the same time because I like the double
mhm,
confirmation. And if I get one answer with one and one answer with the other, that usually means I need to dive into it. And that's why I do a tarot
mhm.
reading because I need to know what the heck's going on here.
When you do pendulum, do you have a board or do you just do the traditional up and back? Up would be yes, back would be no, and side by side is maybe? Or do you have like a board? Like I have a board. I can't reach it right now. Which reminds me when we do pendulum for me to have my two boards.
I originally started with, when I very, very, very first started using a pendulum,
Mhm,
I would just draw on a piece of paper which direction I wanted to do what. And then I started with, I would just look at it and I would do it. And now I have a
mhm,
cloth and I
mhm,
still can just look at it and do it like that. But I like the cloth because when I'm doing it for another person and they can see the answer that I'm
mhm,
doing. So I use the cloth more for aesthetic purposes, but I
mhm.
just do the directional usually. But yeah, I put the cloth down because it looks
Okay,
pretty.
yeah.
I also have like a
Yeah.
cloth for tarot reading, but like I don't
I
like do
just got
anything
one.
specifically. It's just aesthetically nice to have under the cards. And then also I don't put the card on anything like dusty or something.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of pendulum, I found out that getting a pendulum to swing is not a normal thing. I mean, I get that I have the oracle abilities, but I was at a shop and this girl was actually the worker at the shop, picked up a pendulum that I was just looking at and it automatically started like spinning. I don't know what it was gonna read, but it started spinning and the girl just looked at it. And so she took it from me and it didn't move at all. And that was the first time that I realized that just like anything else, not everybody could do it the same. Cause it was like, I don't know what it was trying to communicate, but it just started like instantly. That's why I have to be careful when I pick up pendulums because they'll start connecting with something like as soon as I touch them.
My favorite pendulum actually broke, and it broke during my live, actually. But like it's not like insanely broken. I can
Mhm,
fix it. Just like
mhm.
the pointy piece popped off because
Yeah.
mine is like a fillable jar, and I
Oh,
like
that's so
low
cool.
key love it. It
I
was the
love
first
that.
pendulum I got. It's really old. It's been through a
Mhm.
lot, that's for sure.
My tiger eye, the chain broke off of it, but I kept the actual point, so I could probably just put it on a new. Like I
Yeah.
used it so much it's not pointy anymore.
Oh my goodness, the very recently, I have a dream
Mhm,
amethyst tower, and it was one of the
mhm,
first crystals I got, and I will
mhm,
sleep with it by my bed if I'm having really bad nightmares consistently, and it
mhm,
usually helps. One time I woke up from my dream, I was
mhm.
having a nightmare, my tower was still standing, and it was chipped at the top. Like it was no
Oh.
longer pointed. And I was like, where's the chipped piece? But he's like, you
Mhm.
would think it would just be sitting right there. Like, I have no clue where it is. Still haven't found it.
It probably took whatever that was and it chipped off. Because you know how they say once they do their purpose, they break?
Yeah.
I broke so many rings when I was going through my trauma. Like, I could not wear any type of gemstone ring. It would crack.
Yeah. Obviously,
Well,
they can't see it, but you can. It's like
yeah.
completely
Yeah.
chipped off on the side.
I
It's like
see
black.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must have caught whatever it was supposed to catch, you know?
Yeah, it did its purpose, that's for sure. But it was definitely a sad moment. I was like, oh my gosh, my poor crystal.
I know it's so hard, and people are like, "Okay, now you have to return it to the earth." I'm like, "I don't want to. No, I love it." When my dog Oriole was really, really young, he had a lot of stomach issues, and somebody told me to take a clear quartz and run it over him. And
Yeah.
I watched this clear quartz. So no, it was not from me holding it. It wasn't UV or anything like that. The one time that I bought the clear quartz, I watched it cloud
Oh, what?
running it over him. Yeah, I could not he could not eat dog food when he was a puppy. I had to like cook for him.
How is he after that?
I can feed him dog food now, like processed dog food. Yeah. Yeah, but like
Wow.
I watched, it was like clear. So it wasn't like, oh, it was cloudy, you didn't notice it. I bought the clearest one possible on purpose and I just watched it. I actually still have it somewhere. I'll have to dig it and I'll send you a picture of it. And it's not as cloudy, but it still holds like some of it inside of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it definitely did its purpose then. So there you go.
It did. Yeah. Yeah. I'm huge in like doing with my animal healing. Like if I ever actually went to vet school, I would have gone into like the holistic stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Acupuncture and crystals and all that, because it definitely helps them a lot. It is now time. My dog alarm's going off. He always gets up right at an hour and 30 minutes. So I gotta go let him out. Thank you so much for joining.
I was so glad to be here.
All right, I will talk to you later.
Bye.
A blast doing this episode with Sarah, and I am so excited for all that we have coming up for all of you with this series. Until next time, stay safe and reach from the universe.